Yes, guys, you know what time it is. It's your boy Jack here at the Irish Hotspur, here to bring you your preseason summary in case you missed any of the games, missed all the games, or just looking, for an opinion on how maybe we should look at or maybe even have some takeaways when it comes to this preseason. But let's get this party started. We're going to start with the goalkeepers. With Brandon Austin, of course, he did feature at least in the first game in the K League game. Looked shaky in the K League 11, but didn't really, look great with his feet either. Made one good save, I recall, at one stage. Came in also for the Sevilla game, but I don't really recall him looking too shaky or even really remember him playing at all, in that game. Expect him to go out on loan or stick around as a third keeper. Lloris looked shaky with his feet, as we know he can be, but we did pass it back to the keeper lots when he was in goal, which shows the team is confident with him receiving the ball more this season. I would say that is probably the main takeaway you could take from this sort of, kind of preseason campaign is the fact that Lloris, was receiving the ball a lot to feet. He did look a bit shaky with the ball to feet, but maybe something that will be changed compared to previous managers in the past. Lloris might be having the ball lots of times at his feet. Forster, honestly, don't really recall anything that he did or any real danger of any kind that he just faced. He just looked massive and just looked like a gigantic human being. I think that's pretty much the conclusion we can take from Forster. When it comes to the defense, I would say that might be, the real, kind of, talking point, because Sanchez pretty much was the whole focus of the preseason. He played left-sided center back in every match, and I believe might have moved over mid-game to right-sided center back in one stage, but we mostly saw him as a left-sided center back, and let's say for the most part, it wasn't pretty. Sanchez looked worst against the K League 11, but you could generously say he looked slowly better each game, and I do mean that very generously. To be clear, though, his only good performance was against Roma. What I can say, though, is that he made some excellent recovery tackles whenever Hoiberg or Eric Dyer gave away the ball. And I think both of them did give away the ball in either the Sevilla game or the Rangers game in some pretty poor positions. And Sanchez actually saved them, I think, on a few occasions as well. He probably looked, unconvincing at left-sided center back for most. You could probably say his best position is still right-sided center back and only right-sided center back. And I'm not sure how I feel about that. When it comes to Eric Dyer, started this season off with an absolute bang, and I do mean a literal bang. His stunner from range with his weaker foot made us think that he had gone from moon boots to rocket boots. From there, though, a lot of his old habits seemed to come through. Lots of fans saying the header we even conceded to that K League team was a combination of Dyer and Sanchez's fault, something that we have seen in the past. He does show a bit of composure in possession, but he never really shows any urgency, I would say, in possession. Eric Dyer, he just simply seems to keep the metronome going, being able to just pass the ball back and forth till you practically fall asleep. He struggled yet again with his aerial challenges as well as his physicality with certain players, but with hopefully some added competition via the transfer market this August, we might have fewer worries. When it comes to Romero, just simply look world class. Enough said. He could probably play the game tomorrow. Longley looked really good in possession versus both Rangers as well as Roma. Made a lot of deep lying passes. Never dwelled on the ball very much, and wanted to make a good impression. Clearly, he had really good recovery pace as well. Looked really aggressive with trying to win some challenges. And also on top of that, just seemed to be good competition for Ben Davies. I think really looked like a good signing from the limited minutes that we were able to see him. Moving on to the wingbacks, though, everybody, and that is also, I would say, a bit of a talking point because the wingbacks were a bit underwhelming. Doherty made appearances on both the right as well as the left and looked underwhelming on both sides. It seemed like, he was so predictable with what he was going to do either on the left hand side. He was just going to cut back inside and then, play a pass into the midfield or play a pass to the back line. When he was playing on the right side, most recently against Roma, he'd play that sort of diagonal pass inside into the forward and then make a pretty slow, meandering run, beyond the forward that would be really easy to track. He just seemed, like a 30-year-old right wing back that just came off an injury. So I'm not going to be too hard on Doherty, but, that injury either really showed or maybe even just the fact that he hasn't played football, a little bit of time just really showed, this preseason. Emerson got around 45 minutes to 20 minutes in each game, looked fine defensively, but still underwhelming in possession. Really struggled against Sevilla to make the right decision when finding himself in excellent positions. If you do recall, if you watched that game, there were countless times when Emerson found himself in amazing positions to either get an assist or a goal, and he just continued to make the wrong choice. But I feel like Emerson's, delivery has obviously improved. Even just his possession ability has improved. And the one thing that I could say compared to someone like Doherty is that Emerson's ability to get up and down the pitch and be an option on the wing, and even make unselfish runs, to help, his forward get a bit more space, I think was clear. I think Doherty clearly needs to kind of ramp up, the mobility a bit more. Lucas, we got to see some brief spells of him and some experimentation of Lucas at wingback, but from what I can say is that he certainly helps with the progressive element of our play on the right. I expect him to maybe be used as a sub for a right wing back, not just a winger. We used to only think of him as kind of a substitute for any of the forward line players. Expect him to be a substitute for the wingers or for the wing backs, excuse me, because he did bring a good progressive element to it. One caveat, though, is that he did seem a bit uncomfortable defending in his own box, but that is the risk that I think comes with that. Sassignon, I think, was a pretty similar story to Emerson. It just like the delivery clearly had gotten a bit better, but just seemed so predictable, kind of like Emerson, and also just made, maybe a few wrong decisions in certain areas. And like I said, with Sassignon too, just I would say predictable is the word that, seems to come to mind. He just seems to, move a bit too slow for me, or maybe just not really as agile or as kind of, quick as you would like. So I would like to see him maybe improve, some of his, kind of forward thinking ability, or at least just some of his forward productivity, because when we did see Perisic, the moment he came on, we saw what we were missing down that left flank. And his ability to come up with inventive and creative passes that Sessegnon just simply wasn't, into Son's feet, into Harry Kane's feet, was really lovely to see. And he's also able to take on his man one-on-one and be able to either fire a shot or, fire across, to maybe, someone at the back post. It just really showed, the difference between Sessegnon and Perisic. And he didn't look too poor defensively either, I must say. Perisic should watch this space. He could even, if you ask me, if I were to make a suggestion, should probably start in the first game, of this season against Southampton. When it came to the midfield, Højbjerg is probably the one you should probably talk about. Struggled in every game, if you ask me, when playing alongside anyone else but Bentancur. He seemed to have some poor first touches, was a bit boring in possession as well, wasn't brave enough when carrying the ball, gave possession away in some bad areas. Genuinely not a good preseason for Højbjerg, which does leave us Højbjerg fans a bit worried about his position in the squad. I do feel like he is going to start the first game of the season, but I am a bit worried about that preseason for Højbjerg. It just was a bit sloppy, and it just not really comfortable, at least, and maybe needed another game or two, if you ask me. Bentancur looked simply incredible and pure class, from getting stuck in to just putting some beautiful, kind of fantastic displays of, kind of feet and keeping possession, was able to, handle any bit of pressure on him. Just look class, just simply look class. The best of midfielders by far. Skip looked fine in his first game against the K-League 11, but it was disappointing to see him pick up an injury. Hopefully he does return to the squad soon, because I think what Skip needs most are minutes. When the fact that he wasn't getting, any minutes, this preseason, I think does hurt, his chance of, being a regular right away, into the Spurs team, because he's been out a long time with injury. And the fact that he picked up an injury during preseason, when those were great times for him to get back into the flow of things, a bit disappointing. Basuma looked good against Rangers, but poor against Roma. Just simply seemed nervous and potentially confused about how to play in, that midfield pivot of that 3-4-3. His first touch was often a bit off in, that Roma game. And whenever he, was trying to, look upfield, he just couldn't find that dangerous pass like I know he can. Just simply didn't look like, the Basuma that we know he can be. And it might just have to do with a bit of nerves. And when it comes to Papa Matasar, all I would say is that simply he did look pretty good for a 19-year-old, very, very tall, like to press. And I would say the fact that he's only 19 years old, I would like to keep him in England, either on loan or just around the squad. He's only 19 years old. You don't really need to rush his progression too much. But let's move on to the forward line, everybody. And when it comes to the forward line, we do have to discuss, Harry Kane and Son, who were simply just unbelievable. They looked like they could have kind of just started, the first game of the season right away, even against the K-League team. The moment they came on, they made instant impact. I feel like these guys are set for a huge season ahead of them. When it came to Kulusevski, we got to see spells of him, especially against Rangers and Roma. He looked fabulous against Rangers, spending his man time after time after time. But against Roma, I think he really struggled to get good service. I have full confidence Kulusevski will hit the ground running. When it came to Richarlison, our new big signing, he worked especially hard, had some nice hold-up play in a lot of moments, but kind of struggled to play that right pass or that final ball in certain moments. He always seemed to have the right idea, but struggled to play the final ball. Found some good opportunities, and I am confident, though, that he will put those away, next time when it comes to the regular season. He played everything from lone striker to right winger. He really showed his versatility, got into a few scuffles as well with some players throughout the preseason, and showed that he's not only going to be, our new kind of forward, our new sort of striker, but he's also going to be a new bodyguard in the team to help, protect some of our players. But it was beautiful to see this preseason. Lots of fun, of course. Everybody, do let me know what you think of this preseason summary. Anything that I might have missed out, anything that might have been too harsh on, maybe too nice about, feel free to let me know in the comments down below. Fan show tomorrow, of course, everybody. But as always, come on, you Spurs. In Conte we trust, and I will be seeing you.